You're looking at youth, and I mean, you're talking about all these digital and all these social things, and they're often the ones out there, and it's a different generation than any of us kind of grew up in. It's a generation that's totally been digital native their whole life.
Speak for yourself.
Wonderful. But you know, trying to understand, okay, how does the mating game and how does dating change for this environment? I mean, Axe has always been about helping guys go out there and get the girl. But how does it change when all of a sudden guys are meeting girls for the first time through Facebook? Or they're not going out on dates anymore, and all of a sudden they're just, you know, there's a lot more group activity. How do you help guys when all of a sudden women are the aggressors in certain circumstances? And they're up for a good time as much as the guy is. And so all of a sudden he's not pursuing anymore, but he's being chased. Or, you know, everybody's just kind of up for it and it's a good time. What do you do as a brand in that circumstance? And how do you kind of continue to foster engagement and dialogue and, you know, be useful?
All interesting questions. Yeah, especially since you can't smell people over Facebook, you know, because I remember when Axe first launched, it was all about, you know,
an app for that.
Yeah, I remember the elevator spots.
Yeah.
The guy would go in the elevator and then would tear his clothes off because they could smell them. So what?
Yeah, that works, by the way.
It does, yeah. Well, it does.
So, like, yeah, that's why I took the stairs. It was awkward.
But you know, so what is some of the answers there? And it doesn't have to just be for Axe, but it seems like, you know, when all the dynamics change with social media, there's got to be some other ways for brands to still live up to their purpose. I'm assuming Axe's purpose is to help guys hook up with girls in a good way. So what do they do? I mean, how do they adjust?
Well, I mean, to me, like, so kind of where our purview is just trying to help create a message that remains relevant as times change, or helping brands adjust their message so it continues to be relevant. So when we're working on, we just did a project with Starbucks working on their whole social responsibility initiatives, and going out and trying to understand how consumers related to the idea of social responsibility. And what does the idea mean, and what does it mean coming from Starbucks? And then a lot of the time, I know that brands work a lot, and you know, people work a lot on trying to figure out what are the channels to go out there. And the channels are really interesting and important, but just as important is what's the message?
More important.
What do we have any business saying to people that they care? And so that's kind of where we focus in on is, okay, what's the message? What are you trying to do? What's really important about this, and why is it important now versus any other time? And once you kind of get that, then you can sit down and you can look at what are the messages that are best to push this out. Is it traditional? Is it digital? Is it social? Is it whatever the word of the day is? As opposed to trying to say, okay, we've got this channel and we need to say something, what can we say? Yeah. That seems like kind of nothing actually ends up sounding honest in that environment. It always sounds better if it's, okay, what's our idea? And then you try to figure out how you say it.
And one of the things you've hit on there, which is interesting to me, is that there used to be a permanence to positioning. It was like a locked and fixed kind of notion around a brand idea, and it was so permanent. And clearly brands have tried to extend with other, you know, products or services, leveraging whatever that core thing is. But, you know, with the market changing so dramatically, so quickly, and not just the way that we're relating through media, but the way that we can put pressure back on that company and that product spectrum to say, I don't like it that way. You know, so you know, one of the things we're, you know, thinking a lot about is there's paid media, there's earned media, and then there's fueling the conversation, and how do you create a dialogue versus the monologue? And that's the old kind of metric of, you know, how many people that you said reach. You know, it's a combination of reach and frequency. The old bad model, you know. And I love it when an agency goes in and says, we're a disruptor. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be disrupted. I mean, I just don't. So I actually want to be related to as a human and given a context for relating to some brand experience. And so, but the challenge for a brand is how do you remain authentic to some core idea and yet be relevant with guidance from, you know, people as you go. Because that's the hardest thing, and I think that's the biggest thing that most brands struggle from, and that's why Ben's so good at what he does and so useful, is actually figuring out that evolution, that kind of context for kind of matching with the market's evolution.